The galaxy had never known a war like this. Entire star systems were ripped apart, planets burned to dust, and countless species had either fled or surrendered. Humanity had entered the conflict only a few decades ago. Yet it had already made a name for itself: tenacious, clever, and stubborn beyond measure. Captain Jace Morgan, a seasoned human soldier, had seen more battles than he cared to remember, but nothing in his experience compared to the mission that now lay before him. Jace sat in the dimly lit command room aboard the starship, vigilant, his eyes fixed on the holographic map of the Vera system. The planet Vera had been peaceful before the Thryn invasion. Its forests glimmered with bioluminescent flora, and its oceans were said to shine with colors unseen on any human world. But now, the once beautiful planet was a silent grave. Thryn warships patrolled its orbit, and ground forces occupied every major city. Most of its population had been scattered, imprisoned, or worse. The mission was simple in theory but impossible in practice. Rescue the lost child of Queen Alara, the alien ruler of Vera. The Thryn had captured the queen during a raid, and her child had vanished in the chaos. Intelligence reports suggested the child had been taken to a heavily fortified Thryn starbase, a place considered impenetrable. Captain Morgan, a calm voice interrupted his thoughts. Lieutenant Reina Torres, a sharp-minded strategist and longtime comrade, entered the room. Her brow was furrowed, but her eyes carried the same determination that Jace had always admired. "Lieutenant," Jace said, rising to greet her. "What's the latest?" "Recon satellites confirm unusual energy readings on the outer decks of the starbase," she replied, pointing at a flickering blue mark on the map. "They match the psychic signature from Vera. It has to be the child." Jace leaned closer. The child was said to possess an innate psychic ability, something rare among the Verans. If true, it made the mission more urgent. This child could be a key to restoring balance, not just for Vera but for all species suffering under the Thryn's rule. "We leave at 0600, Jace said finally. His voice was steady, but his mind raced with questions and strategies. "We know the risks. This is more than a rescue, it's a statement. Humanity does not abandon those in need." Reina nodded. "Understood. The team is ready." As preparations went on through the night, Jace walked the corridors of the Vigilant. The hum of the engines beneath his feet felt comforting, almost like a heartbeat reminding him that he was alive and human. Outside the ship's viewports, stars streaked past as they approached the Vera system. He couldn't help but think of the Queen, held captive somewhere, her child alone and frightened. He had fought for countless causes, but this one felt different. This was personal. Not for fame, glory, or orders, this was for life itself. The team assembled in the briefing room at dawn. 5 human soldiers, each selected for their courage, skill, and ingenuity, stood ready. There was Kale, a sharpshooter with unmatched precision. Mira, a tech specialist capable of hacking even Thryn defense systems. Rico, a demolitions expert with nerves of steel. And Tessa, a medic who had saved more lives than any report could count. Together, they formed a unit that could take on the impossible, relying on wits and courage over sheer firepower. Jace addressed the team. "We're not just humans on a mission. We're the hope of Vera, of the child, and of all those who suffer under the Thryn. Our goal is to get in, find the child, and get out. No unnecessary risks, no distractions. Everyone relies on each other. We succeed together, or we don't come back at all." Silence fell over the room. Each member absorbed the weight of the mission, yet none flinched. That was the thing about humans. Jace thought they may not have had the fastest ships or the deadliest weapons, but their spirit, their refusal to quit, was unmatched. By the time the team boarded their stealth craft, the Raven, the Vera system loomed ahead. A swirling orb of blues and greens, surrounded by a thin veil of atmosphere. Jace's heart pounded in his chest. For the first time in years, he allowed himself to feel fear. Not for himself, but for the child, for the Queen, and for the lives depending on this mission. Fear, he reminded himself, sharpened awareness. It wasn't weakness. The Raven slipped through the darkness of space, its cloaking technology rendering it nearly invisible to the Thryn patrols. Jace watched the enemy ships pass by, their angular designs alien and menacing, but unmoving. The Thryn relied on precision and technology, but they underestimated the unpredictable nature of humans. Improvisation, emotion, and courage were weapons the Thryn could never calculate. Hours passed as the team maneuvered closer to the starbase. Finally, it loomed ahead, a fortress of steel and energy. Defense drones patrolled the outer decks, scanning with red beams that could fry a human in seconds. Jace signaled Mira, who worked quietly, fingers flying across her console. She jammed the nearest surveillance grid, creating a small window for the craft to slip through undetected. "Going in," Jace whispered, gripping the edge of his seat. The Raven descended, weaving through laser turrets and automated defenses. The ship's sensors beeped constantly, warning of every danger. But Jace and his team moved with careful precision, each decision measured yet daring. Finally, they reached the docking bay. The craft slid into a shadowed alcove, unseen by patrolling guards. The team disembarked, each soldier carrying specialized equipment. Jace led the way, his eyes scanning the area for any threats. The interior of the starbase was cold, metallic, and quiet, too quiet. Kale moved ahead to scout, signaling with hand gestures as they advanced. Every corridor, every turn seemed like a potential trap. But the team pressed on, driven by purpose. They reached the central holding area, where the intelligence suggested the child was kept. Jace paused, listening. Faint sounds reached his ears, not footsteps, not voices, but a subtle, rhythmic pulse. His instincts told him this was it. He signaled the team to split, surrounding the area in a tactical formation. Through a reinforced glass chamber, Jace saw the child for the first time. Small, fragile, with luminous eyes that seemed too wise for their age. The child clutched a simple stuffed toy. Trembling, the child's psychic aura pulsed faintly, a soft glow that illuminated the chamber in ethereal light. Fear and loneliness radiated from the child. But so did resilience, a will to survive that mirrored humanity itself. Jace felt a lump in his throat. "We've got you," he whispered, his voice carrying through the comms. "We're here to take you home." Suddenly, alarms blared. The Thryn had detected their presence. Red lights flashed, and automated sentries activated. The team braced for battle. Jace's mind raced, weighing every option. He could rush in and risk a firefight, or he could find another way. A clever way. A human way. He remembered Veyron's stories of human heroes, ordinary people who became legends through courage and wit. And he knew that today, humanity would live up to that legacy. "Focus on the child," Jace ordered. "Rico, prepare the diversion. Mira, start the override on the door. KL, cover R6. Tessa, be ready for anything." As the team moved into position, the first wave of Thryn drones approached. Rico triggered an explosion at the far end of the corridor, drawing their attention. Kale's precise shots disabled the nearest sentries. Mira's fingers flew across the panel, overriding the locking mechanism. The door clicked open, and Jace moved in, scooping the child into his arms. The child froze at first, but Jace's calm voice soothed their fear. "You're safe now, I promise. We're going home." And in that moment, amid the chaos, something profound happened. Jace understood the true power of humanity, not our weapons, not our technology, but our heart. Courage, compassion, and ingenuity could pierce through even the coldest, deadliest of empires. The mission was far from over, but for now, the first victory had been won. Humanity had once again proven that even in the darkest corners of the galaxy, a human soul could shine brighter than any star. And in the quiet glimmer of the child's luminous eyes, Jace saw hope. A hope that would ignite a spark across the universe, reminding all that humans, small and fragile as they may seem, could change the course of history. The alarms echoed through the Thryn's starbase, a harsh red light bouncing off metal walls. Captain Jace Morgan held the child close, feeling the small body tremble in his arms. The glow from the child's psychic aura pulsed faster now, a reflection of fear and confusion. Around him, his team moved like a well-oiled machine, each step calculated, each action precise. They were humans, vulnerable yet daring, fighting in a place where even the air seemed hostile. "Keep moving," Jace ordered, voice calm but firm. "Rico, make sure the path is clear. Kale, watch our back. Mira, how long until the exit door unlocks?" Mira's fingers flew across her portable console, her face tense. "Almost there. Just a few more seconds. They've got security overrides I didn't expect. It's tricky, but I can do it." The team pressed forward through the metallic corridors. Every corner seemed to hide danger. Thryn guards, automated drones, traps designed to incapacitate or kill. But Jace's mind was focused, calculating every move. He knew brute force would not win this mission. Humans had a different advantage: unpredictability. The Thryn relied on order, rules, and patterns. Humans thrived in chaos. Rico set small, controlled charges behind them, triggering distractions that drew the sentries away. Kale's rifle barked with precision, disabling automated units before they could react. Tessa stayed close to Jace, calming the child with gentle words and a reassuring hand on their shoulder. Each human acted not just with skill, but with empathy, a trait the Thryn had never understood. They reached a large observation deck overlooking the inner reactor core. The energy here was intense, the hum of the machines vibrating through the floor. The exit route required crossing this area, but it was a killing zone. Thryn sentries were stationed strategically, and any mistake could trigger the entire defense system. Jace crouched behind a support beam, studying the patrols. "We go together. Slow and steady," he whispered. "Watch each other's backs. We cannot afford to lose anyone here." The child clung to his arm, wide eyes fixed on the glowing core below. Are we safe?" the child asked in a small, trembling voice. "Safe enough," Jace replied with a faint smile. "We're getting out of here, I promise." They moved as one, shadows slipping between beams of light. Kale neutralized the nearest sentry with silent precision. Mira hacked the security panel controlling the door ahead, while Rico laid small charges to block reinforcements. Each step forward required patience and coordination, but humanity had patience in abundance when lives were at stake. Suddenly, the floor beneath them shook as a Thryn patrol arrived unexpectedly. Jace reacted instantly, shoving the child behind a console as Kale fired a warning shot that disabled their weapons. The Thryn soldiers hesitated, unaccustomed to human improvisation. In that moment, Jace saw an opening. He grabbed the child and ran, Mira and Rico close behind, while Kale provided cover fire. The chase was relentless. The team sprinted through winding corridors, ducking behind machinery and leaping over energy conduits. Alarms screamed louder with each passing second, red lights flashing like warning beacons in a nightmare. Yet, despite the chaos, the humans remained composed. Fear existed, but it sharpened their senses instead of paralyzing them. They reached the reactor core's main access point. Mira's console beeped in triumph. Doors unlocked. "Go. Go." Jace ushered the child through first, feeling the psychic aura calm slightly as they neared freedom. The team followed, Rico placing a final charge to slow any pursuing enemies. They burst out into a maintenance corridor leading to the starbase hangar. Then, a voice boomed across the facility, cold and commanding. "Intruders detected. Activate containment protocol." The Thryn were coming. Automated drones swarmed the corridors behind them, and reinforcements moved in from the opposite side. The hangar, once empty, now glimmered with patrol lights and robotic guards. Jace glanced at the team, reading determination in each face. There was no time for hesitation. Humans were small, Yet their courage could outshine the largest adversary. Jace pointed. Use the ship. We get inside, we launch, and we leave them guessing. Stay tight. They sprinted toward their craft, dodging blasts and narrowly avoiding patrols. Kale fired at drones. Mira hacked the launch sequence. Enrico used precise detonations to block chasing units. The child clung to Jace's chest, eyes wide but trusting. Tessa whispered softly to the child, her hand on their back. We're almost there. You're safe with us. The team reached the Raven, their stealth craft waiting in the hangar. Mira finished the override, and the ship's doors slid open. They jumped inside, Rico slamming the hatch shut just as a wave of drones reached them. The engines hummed to life, and the ship lifted off, weaving through the hangar's defense turrets. Jace piloted with skill born of years in combat, weaving between laser fire and energy barriers. He glanced at the child, who stared out of the viewport, witnessing a galaxy in turmoil yet moving toward freedom. Hold on, he said. Almost there. The Thryn pursuit was relentless, but the humans had one advantage: they did not anticipate improvisation. Jace initiated a series of sharp maneuvers, drawing the drones into an energy trap set earlier by Rico's charges. One by one, the Thryn drones malfunctioned and exploded in bursts of sparks. Kale's sharpshooting eliminated remaining units. The humans were small in number, but their cunning made them formidable. Once clear of immediate danger, Jace breathed a sigh of relief. Status report, he ordered. Mira checked the consoles. All systems nominal, shields holding. Thryn pursuit minimal for now. We've bought ourselves some distance. Tessa looked at the child, smiling softly. You did great. You're safe now. The child's eyes filled with tears. But not just from fear. They were tears of relief, hope, and a trust that had been absent for too long. Jace's heart swelled. Humanity had faced impossible odds countless times. Yet here they were again, not because of strength alone, but because humans never gave up, never abandoned those in need, and adapted to every challenge thrown their way. The child's psychic aura, once frantic, now glimmered faintly with calm. Jace could feel the trust forming, a bond stronger than any weapon. The Raven navigated through asteroid fields and debris, using the chaos of space as cover. Jace piloted with precision, each movement calculated, yet flexible enough to adapt to sudden changes. He reflected on humanity's nature. The ability to improvise, to make choices others deemed impossible, to act from both courage and empathy. That combination had carried them this far, and it would carry them farther. Hours passed as they traveled in silence, each human lost in thought, the child resting quietly. The stars outside the viewport blurred into streaks of light, and Jace allowed himself a rare moment of reflection. He thought of Queen Alara, still held captive, and the people of Veira, who had suffered under the Thryn occupation. Humanity's intervention was small in scale but significant in impact. One act of courage could ripple through the galaxy, inspiring hope where none remained. Suddenly, the ship's sensors beeped, signaling an approaching Thryn scout vessel. Jace immediately calculated options, realizing they could not outrun it in a straight path. Mira, can we scramble their sensors? I can try, she said, fingers flying across her console. It will take a few minutes. You'll need to maneuver to keep them from locking on. Jace nodded. Do it. Everyone, stay ready. The scout vessel closed in quickly, its sleek design and speed impressive. But Jace was faster in thought than they were in expectation. He took the ship into a twisting course through the asteroid field, dodging massive rocks, while Mira disrupted the vessel's targeting systems. The scout fired, but their lasers struck rocks or fizzled out, unable to adjust to the unpredictability of human tactics. Finally, Mira's override succeeded. The scout's sensors went haywire, its targeting systems confused. Jace seized the opportunity, accelerating away, leaving the Thryn vessel behind. A cheer erupted from the team, brief but heartfelt. They had survived yet another test. The child looked at Jace with wide eyes. You really saved me, they whispered. Jace shook his head, smiling softly. No. We saved each other. You were brave, too. Tessa placed a hand on the child's shoulder. "This is only the beginning. But now, we can take you home." "You're not alone anymore." Jace leaned back in his seat, the child asleep in his arms. He allowed himself a moment of hope. They had escaped the Thrin starbase, a feat many considered impossible. But the mission was far from over. The galaxy was vast, the war still raging, and Queen Alara remained in captivity. Yet one thing was certain. Humanity had proven again that courage, empathy, and ingenuity could overcome the impossible. As the Ravens sailed through the dark expanse of space, the stars seemed to shine brighter. Jace looked at the sleeping child, feeling a protective warmth he had not known before. He silently vowed that no matter the cost, they would reach Vera safely. Humans might be small, but their heart, their spirit, and their determination were unmatched. In the vast, cold galaxy, they shone like beacons of hope, and somewhere far away, Queen Alara would one day hear the news that her child was safe. And she would see, in the actions of a human soldier, proof that even in a universe filled with darkness, the light of humanity could not be extinguished. The stars stretched endlessly before the Raven, a streak of human courage cutting through the darkness. Captain Jace Morgan kept his hands steady on the controls, but his mind never stopped calculating. Every course, every maneuver, every possible threat ran through his thoughts as they approached the Vera system. The child slept peacefully in his arms, trusting him completely. And that trust weighed more heavily than any armor he had ever worn. "Captain," Mira said quietly, her eyes scanning the console. "We've detected Thrin patrols ahead. More than I expected for this sector. They're fast and numerous. We can't outrun all of them." Jace nodded, his jaw tight. "Then we don't run. We fight smart. Everyone, listen carefully. Kale, you'll take point. Rico and Mira, prepare diversions. Tessa, stay ready for anything, and I'll guide us through the asteroid belt up ahead. They won't see us coming." And the asteroid belt was massive, a chaotic maze of rocks and debris. Many would have seen it as a death trap. But Jace saw opportunity. Humanity had always turned obstacles into advantages, and today would be no different. "Steady," he muttered, piloting the Raven into the first field of floating rocks. The ship weaved gracefully, dodging massive boulders while smaller fragments scraped past at high speed. The Thrin ships followed, their superior sensors struggling to track the unpredictability of human maneuvers. Kale's rifle hummed as he took careful shots at pursuing drones, each burst knocking another threat off course. Rico released small charges behind them, creating explosions that temporarily blocked the enemy's path. Mira manipulated the ship's cloaking field to create shadows and blind spots, confusing the Thrin pilots. Through it all, the child stirred in Jace's arms. Are they going to catch us?" they asked softly, eyes wide with fear. Jace shook his head. "Not if we stay clever. Trust me." He had never been more serious in his life. Every decision mattered. Every second counted. Humans were not the strongest species, but their mind, their heart, and their adaptability often gave them the edge. As they pushed further into the asteroid belt, the Thrin began to anticipate their movements. Jace realized they needed a bold move. "Rico, follow my lead," he said. "We're going deep. Use the gravity fields of the larger asteroids to swing around them. It'll throw their targeting off completely." Rico's hands flew across his console, synchronizing charges with Jace's maneuvering. The ship twisted and spun around massive rocks, almost dancing with death. The Thrin struggled to keep up, their formations breaking apart under the humans' unpredictable tactics. The team's coordination was seamless. Years of training, trust, and instinct combined into a single force. They cleared the densest part of the belt, but the danger was far from over. Ahead lay the Thrin blockade around Vera's orbit. A series of automated satellites, energy barriers, and warships. The planet was close, but the blockade seemed impenetrable. Jace's heart beat faster not from fear, but from determination. "We need a distraction," he said, something big enough to draw them away from our path. Mira, I can overload one of their satellites, she replied. It'll create a chain reaction, taking out several others. But it's risky if it fails. We'll be exposed immediately. Jace looked at the team. Humans never back down from the impossible, he said. Do it. Mira's hands moved with precision. And within minutes, one of the satellites erupted in a controlled chain reaction. Explosions lit up the darkness, and Thrin's sensors went haywire. Several warships broke formation to investigate. Kale fired strategically at pursuing drones, while Rico set charges along debris to create further chaos. The team moved through the blockade with speed and cunning, each human using instinct and intelligence to survive where brute force would have failed. The child, watching the events unfold, began to understand something important about humans. They could face any danger, adapt, and overcome, all while protecting those who could not protect themselves. Finally, they reached the atmosphere of Vera. The planet stretched below them in breathtaking beauty forests, glowing faintly under the alien sun. Oceans shimmering with colors impossible to describe. But the city where Queen Alara was held remained under Thrin control, a stark reminder that the war was not yet over. Jace guided the ship toward a landing zone just outside the main city, a place hidden by natural cliffs and dense vegetation. We're close, he whispered to the child. Just a little further. The team disembarked, moving through the alien terrain with caution. Every step was deliberate. The Thrin could appear at any moment. But humans were patient. And humans were clever. They navigated through thick forests, using natural cover to avoid patrols. Every rustle, every shadow was met with focus and precision. Up ahead, Kale said, pointing to a clearing where Thrin forces patrolled the outskirts. We'll need a plan to get past them. Jace crouched behind a rock, studying the enemy. We don't fight them head-on. We create illusions. Rico, you and Kale take the left path. I'll take the right with Mira. Tessa stays with the child in the middle. We converge at the rendezvous point beyond the city. Understand? The team nodded. It was a risky plan, but humans had always thrived on risks, turning what seemed impossible into achievable feats. Rico and Kyle moved silently, planting small devices that emitted false signals to draw the Thrin guards away. Jace and Mira used portable holographic projectors to mimic movements, confusing enemy sensors. Tessa kept the child calm, whispering reassuring words as the team navigated the tense situation. The first challenge came in the form of a Thrin patrol unexpectedly crossing Jace's path. He froze for a split second, then improvised. He triggered a small diversion behind the patrol rock shifted. A minor explosion erupted, and the soldiers moved to investigate. Humans were unpredictable, and the Thrin could not anticipate such quick thinking. Once past the patrol, they entered the city outskirts. Smoke and ruins painted a grim picture of the occupation. But Jace's focus never wavered. The child's hand gripped his tightly, and he felt the weight of responsibility more than ever. Humans may have been ordinary in appearance, but in moments like this, they carried extraordinary resolve. The team moved silently through the streets, avoiding checkpoints and surveillance drones. Every human movement was precise, every decision deliberate. They reached the holding facility where intelligence suggested Queen Alara was kept. The building was heavily fortified, but the humans had one advantage the Thrin could not calculate: ingenuity under pressure. Jace crouched outside the facility, studying the security patterns. "We need a way in without raising alarms," he whispered. "Mira, can you access the door systems?" "Yes," she replied, her fingers flying over the portable console. "I can override them, but I need a distraction. Something big enough to pull the guards away for 30 seconds. Rico smirked. "Leave that to me." He set a small, controlled charge at the far side of the building. Moments later, a loud explosion rocked the compound, drawing guards away. Mira's console beeped in triumph. The doors slid open. "Move," Jace ordered. The team entered swiftly, each human aware of the stakes. They navigated the interior, avoiding cameras and security patrols. The child clung to Jace, eyes wide, yet trusting. Finally, they reached the containment area. Through reinforced glass, they saw Queen Alara, restrained but alive. Her eyes lit up with recognition as she saw her child, and then the humans who had risked everything to bring them together. Jace felt a surge of pride. Humanity had made it this far not because of technology, but because of courage, empathy, and creativity. He signaled to the team, "Prepare for extraction. This is the final stretch." The humans worked together seamlessly, freeing Queen Alara and guiding the child into her arms. The psychic aura of the child pulsed brightly, a beacon of hope and resilience. Jace and his team formed a protective perimeter as the group moved back toward the rendezvous point. Outside, the Thrin forces were regrouping, but the humans had already prepared. Kale's sharpshooting, Rico's charges, Mira's hacking, and Jace's leadership created a path of escape. Tessa stayed close to the child, offering reassurance and care. Each human played a role, proving once again that unity, intelligence, and heart could overcome even the deadliest odds. As they reached the rendezvous point, the Raven hovered silently above, engines ready. The humans guided the Queen and her child aboard, securing them for the flight back to safety. Jace climbed in last, glancing at the planet below. Vera was scarred, but hope still lingered. Humanity had delivered a spark that could ignite change, that could remind the galaxy that courage and compassion were not weaknesses, but strengths. The engines roared, lifting them away from the surface. Jace held the child, who finally relaxed in his arms, a soft smile spreading across their face. "You really saved us," the child whispered. "No," Jace replied gently. "We did it together. Humans, aliens, everyone who believed in hope. That's how we survive." The stars stretched endlessly ahead, but Jace knew the war was far from over. Still, one undeniable truth had been proven. Even against a superior foe, humanity's courage, ingenuity, and heart could tip the balance. And with the Queen and her child safe, a new chapter in the galaxy's story was about to begin. The engines of the Raven hummed steadily as the ship left Vera's atmosphere, carrying Captain Jace Morgan, the alien queen, and her child away from danger. Below them, the planet stretched out in breathtaking beauty, scarred by war but still alive. Forests glimmered faintly under the alien sun, rivers and oceans reflecting colors unlike anything in human experience. Jace allowed himself a brief moment of awe. But there was no time to linger. The mission was not over until the Queen and her child were safely reunited, and their people were given hope. Queen Alara held her child close, her glowing eyes filled with both relief and gratitude. "You brought them back," she said, her voice soft yet powerful. "I never thought it possible." Jace shook his head. "We all did it together. Humans may be small, but we refuse to give up. That is our strength." The child looked up at him, wide-eyed. Will we really be safe now?" Jace smiled gently. "Yes, we'll make sure of it." He glanced at his team, each member exhausted but determined. Kale, Rico, Mira, and Tessa had all played their parts perfectly. Humanity had succeeded again, not because of technology or numbers, but because of heart, ingenuity, and courage. The journey back to Vera was tense. Thrin forces were likely in pursuit, but Jace had calculated a safe route through uncharted nebulae and asteroid fields. The team worked seamlessly, each human complementing the other. Mira monitored sensors, Kale kept watch for threats, Rico prepared diversions if needed, and Tessa stayed close to the child, offering comfort. Jace piloted with skill, thinking ahead, anticipating danger, and reacting with precision. Hours passed in relative silence, punctuated only by the hum of the engines and the occasional report from Mira or Kale. The child, now calmer, leaned against Jace, trusting him completely. It was a trust born from bravery, compassion, and unwavering determination. A trust that humans seemed uniquely capable of inspiring. As they neared Vera, the planet's surface came into view, showing signs of life slowly returning. Pockets of the population were emerging from hiding, tentative but hopeful. Jace felt a surge of pride. Humanity had not only rescued a child, but had delivered hope to an entire people. That hope was a weapon more powerful than any laser or missile. Queen Alara looked out of the viewport, her expression softening as she observed her world. "We were ready to give up," she admitted. "But you showed us that courage and compassion can survive even in the darkest times." Jace nodded. "Humans have a saying. We may be ordinary, but we refuse to quit. That makes us extraordinary." They descended toward a secure location where the Queen could safely reunite with her people. The landing zone was a lush valley shielded by cliffs. Away from Thryn patrols, as the ship touched down, the team moved quickly, forming a protective perimeter. The Queen carried her child, moving with cautious joy toward her people who had gathered nearby. When the Queen finally set her child down, a wave of emotion swept through the group. The child ran into the arms of the Queen, tears streaming down both faces. "Mom, I'm back," the child exclaimed, their voice trembling with relief and joy. Queen Alara held her child tightly, whispering words of comfort, her eyes glistening. Around them, the alien people cheered, their hope rekindled by the bravery of humans who had risked everything. Jace watched quietly, feeling the weight of the moment. Humans had once again proven that courage, heart, and ingenuity could turn the tide of even the darkest conflicts. The Thryn were still a threat, but the rescue had a ripple effect. Other alien species, inspired by humanity's bravery, began to organize and resist. Intelligence reports showed that the Thryn's influence was weakening in several sectors, their enemies emboldened by the story of a human soldier who dared to defy impossible odds. Queen Alara approached Jace, her eyes filled with gratitude. "You risked everything to bring my child back," she said. "I do not have the words to thank you." Jace shook his head. "You don't need to. Seeing your child safe, that is thanks enough. Humanity acts when it must, and we do not leave those in need behind." The Queen reached out, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You are family now. Your bravery will not be forgotten. Your name will be remembered among our people for generations." The child ran back to Jace, hugging him tightly. "Thank you," they whispered. "I knew humans were special, but I never imagined this." Tessa smiled, crouching beside them. "Humans are special because we care, because we fight for each other. That's how we survive." Jace looked around at his team. Each of them nodded, exhausted but proud. They had faced impossible odds, navigated deadly traps, outsmarted technologically superior enemies, and protected a life more fragile than their own. It was not brute strength that had carried them, but ingenuity, courage, and heart, the essence of humanity itself. As the sun set over the valley, the glow of the alien forests casting shimmering light over the scene, Jace felt something he rarely allowed himself to feel: peace. The mission had succeeded, the Queen and her child were safe, and humanity had once again proven that, even in a vast, dangerous galaxy, its spirit could shine brighter than any star. Queen Alara spoke to her people, her voice strong yet gentle. "Let this day be remembered," she said. "A human saved our child, showing us that courage, compassion, and ingenuity are forces greater than any weapon. We will rebuild, and we will honor those who stood by us." The crowd erupted in cheers, their voices echoing through the valley. The child laughed, hugging the Queen again, while Jace stood back, quietly observing. He realized that humanity's greatest strength was not in its weapons or numbers, but in its heart, the ability to care, to act when others would not, and to adapt in the face of impossibility. This was what made humans extraordinary. As the team prepared to leave, Queen Alara approached Jace one final time. "Your people are remarkable," she said. "If more species had your courage, the galaxy would be a safer place." Jace smiled. "We're not perfect, but we fight for what is right, and we don't leave anyone behind. That's what matters." The child ran up again, wrapping their small arms around Jace. Promise me you'll always help those who need it," they said, eyes wide and serious. "I promise," Jace said softly, holding the child gently. "Always." As the humans boarded the Raven for the journey back to their own fleet, Jace looked out at the horizon. Vera would heal. The Queen and her people would rebuild, and somewhere in the galaxy, other species would hear of the human who risked everything. And they too would find hope. The ship lifted into the sky, engines humming, carrying the team away from the valley. Behind them, the planet glowed in the fading light of the alien sun. Jace held the child, feeling the soft pulse of their psychic energy. It was a quiet reminder that hope, once restored, could ripple through the universe, touching lives far beyond what any single person could imagine. Kale, Mira, Rico, and Tessa moved through the ship, checking systems and preparing for the journey ahead. They had survived impossible odds, but the story they carried was more than a tale of survival. It was a testament to human ingenuity, courage, and heart. As stars streaked past the viewport, Jace allowed himself a small smile. They had succeeded not just in saving a child and a queen, but in proving something greater. That humans, though ordinary in appearance, were extraordinary in spirit, and in a galaxy full of darkness and danger, that spirit could shine like a beacon, guiding hope to the most desperate corners of the universe. The child leaned against Jace once more, eyes closing in comfort. I think humans are the bravest," they whispered. Jace chuckled softly. "We're not the bravest because we want glory. We're brave because we have to be. Because helping others, protecting those who cannot protect themselves, that is what makes us who we are." Tessa watched them with a gentle smile. "And today, we've shown that humanity's heart can change the course of history." Queen Alara stood near the viewport, holding her child, her eyes reflecting pride and gratitude. "Your people have my eternal respect," she said quietly, "and my eternal thanks." Jace leaned back in his seat, finally allowing a deep breath. The mission was complete. The child was safe, the Queen reunited, and humanity had once again proven that no obstacle was too great when courage, intelligence, and heart worked together. In the quiet hum of the ship, with stars stretching endlessly ahead, Captain Jace Morgan knew one thing. The galaxy might be vast and dangerous, but the human spirit was unstoppable. And somewhere, far beyond the horizon, hope had been restored.